Okay, so some some I suppose maintenance that needs to be done here. Basically, I lost 3 hours worth of VODs due to pure laziness because Twitch deletes them after 7 days, and I pretty much just forgot about it, or I just kept it off and I lost them. So the only way to deal with this now, in order to make up the gap, so to speak, is to watch. And luckily, this can be done with this game. Is to basically just watch a video in order to catch up. And luckily, there are plenty of these cutscene compilations on YouTube. But essentially, what's unfortunate is that the 3 hours, in those 3 hours that were lost, is actually pretty good. Some of the best parts of the game so far. And unfortunately, what that means is that the sort of raw reaction is missed. Albeit the raw reaction was basically me just praising the game, and you'll see why when you see what happens. But yeah, pretty. I mean, I wouldn't say it's unexpected what happens, but it is very good. So unfortunately, the only way is to basically go through this up until a certain point, because I do have a save, which is pretty convenient, which doesn't mean that I have to play through like a whole section again. And we can just resume from there and go from there. But in order to bridge the gap, we will have to watch some of these scenes. Now, where we left it was Shu. We were going to see what's happening with Shu behind this door in the Fox world. And here, well, okay, you can see what's happening with him right now. That's where we left it. How, and I'll just have to explain basically more or less what I can remember about the gameplay parts of what happened, in between all of this. Some of it I will be able to show anyway because like I say, I have that one save. So yeah, we just have to go from here, and what we lose in terms of the raw reaction, I guess. One thing which is gained is some more sort of focused commentary and thoughts about what's going on in the moment, instead of just the raw praise that I was giving out whilst watching these cutscenes. So yeah, let's just press play here and see where we need to stop.
来てくれたんだな、相棒。俺はお前にいいんだ。きなこの好きなようにして。俺は相棒の選択なら受け入れるぜ。
So yeah, pretty good. Very cold, right? No hesitation. And also, I like the sort of slow death. So his neck didn't just like immediately snap. He just slowly dies. And she's just like, whatever. Very similar to the way that she basically got rid of everyone else, right? So Sakuko, Rinko, pretty similar. Just no hesitation, see you later.
幼い頃からの友人に別れを告げるのは辛いだろ
はい。
Well, at least she said yes.
あ、いえ。するべきでした。もっと早く。こんな姿をお見せして申し訳ありません。
謝らなくていい。むしろその痛みを強いた私の方が謝らねばならない。行こう。
I mean, I know people say it's really obvious that, the Fox guy is, you know, not acting exactly in her best interests. But I think, and I agree, obviously, but I do think that they do a reasonable enough job of sort of, you know, the way he behaves in general doesn't necessarily, you know, provoke a lot of suspicion. Yeah, the main reason why he'd be suspicious is because of her sister's warnings. It's not necessarily because of the way that he behaves. And I think that's why the sister's warnings are even in there. Because they need to kind of flag to you, like, wait a second, like, this guy is actually not good. But they wouldn't have to say that, like, they wouldn't have to sort of throw that at you directly if it was obvious enough from his actions. And basically the way he behaves, like, yeah, he's very kind, blah, 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 he's, like, leading her. He hasn't really done that much where you would sort of pause and say, this guy, you know, has sinister intentions. At least not that much. Like, of course, there's a little bit of that. And that's why I say I make the comparison with this Korean film, The Wailing, which also does a very similar thing, where it's like, you'll think, like, oh, this person must be evil at various points, and you'll just keep saying that about almost every single character. It's obviously not the case, though. It's you know, there are some characters that are actually, well, or at least one character that is actually benevolent in that film. But for a long time, like, basically up until almost the very end of the movie, you're still sort of flip-flopping between, like, which one is the evil entity. So this is basically a chase sequence. You do get a better look at this fog monster, which is basically, it's like, yeah, it looks a bit more like a fox-like entity. So that, you know, some little revelations there, I suppose. Okay, so there is actually some of the gameplay. Let's see. I mean, there wasn't anything too interesting, I will say, about this mountain segment, which I think I pretty much missed a lot of it. But, I mean, in terms of the VOD, but there isn't that much. There isn't too much that's actually sort of scary here. So, you know, from that perspective, at least, there's not much actually lost in terms of the gameplay. Let's see, just have to get... Yeah, okay, so there's like 2 chase sequences in a row, which was annoying, by the way. I failed like a couple times. One thing that I was surprised about is that this segment isn't actually very long, and very quickly you're sort of dragged back into the Fox world again. So let's see. Yeah, so I think you make it to Shu's house, and then you're like, yeah, you're just in there. Yeah, so there's like a good look at that sort of, you know, entity that looks more like a fox, right? And I guess that's the one which is in the mist, right? So yeah, you get roughed up again, and then you're back into the fox world very quickly. So that was a very quick segment. I was actually annoyed because the last fox world segment was quite long, or at least that's my recollection. So to get thrown back into it almost straight away, you know, there wasn't really much time in between. So yeah, there again, warning from her sister, which obviously, you know, isn't being heeded. At least right now, it's not being heeded.
姿が見えなくとも一緒にいるのを感じます。
So in this part, what's really annoying,
にふさわしくないよ
the most annoying thing that happened in this part, it wasn't really that scary, but it was annoying, is that they put a lot of enemies on the ceiling. So there's a lot of enemies that'll just lock onto you from the ceiling and just jump down at you. So I think we're going straight into the rituals. So there's 3 rituals, and this is the first one. And this is the part that I was like, okay, like now we're doing something interesting. And you'll see why fairly quickly. Why I say this is interesting now.
"私はここだ。ずっと君といる。
はい。
I like that cutaway, like, because you can't really see what's going on, and then you sort of see that it's for her to bite down on, and it's like, oh shit, like, here, this is where we're going with this. Now, I knew that they were going to do this, but what's the most interesting thing is that she has to do it herself. That is where I was like, well, I think that would be quite difficult. I mean, apart from the fact that you have to do it yourself, I just mean, like, the sort of the physical aspect of it, like cutting it from this angle. I don't know, like, yeah, I suppose, yeah, I guess you could do it, but it's not ideal, you know. Like, I would, you know, if you had to do it, I would rather that, you know, someone else probably does it. But yeah, I guess I understand the sort of symbolic nature of doing it yourself. So this is like the first time that you see other people, you know, other Fox people other than this guy, right? So that's also very interesting. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, damn, this is sick. And it actually does change the gameplay a lot. First of all, I swear, I don't know, like, wouldn't you pass out doing that? Maybe not. Well, okay, I know she just passed out right there, but even during, like, the whole, like, you know, sawing off of the arm, there's no way that that would happen that cleanly, by the way. I swear. I swear there's no way. The one thing, I mean, it's not a criticism, but the one thing that I was maybe a little bit...
まだ痛むか？
いえ、少し引きつる感じがするだけです。行きましょう。次。
君さえ良ければ。
はい、大丈夫です。
Yeah, so the one thing that I sort of that I thought they could have done a little bit more with, especially since the sound design is so good in this game, was the sounds of that whole, like, sawing off of the arm thing. Like, granted, I don't know what sawing off an arm sounds like. Maybe that is what it sounds like, but I feel like they could have done a little more, because it's not particularly squeamish. Like, you know, it didn't seem like too visceral. So I feel like they could have done a little more with that. But still a great, you know, a great scene. I think the fact that she has to do it herself is the best part of that. So I guess we're just going straight into the second ritual now. Okay, yeah, so the second ritual is this one. Not as interesting. I think you already know, like, you know, where it's going with that. This is pretty ballsy. It's just like, yeah, don't need it. I mean, I guess, sure, you know. But pretty, you know, pretty gutsy. I mean, she's taking it pretty well, isn't she? I mean, probably a little bit too well. So that's ritual number 2. I mean, it's just a branding. Again, I don't know what exactly that symbol means.
よく頑張ったね。
はい。
I love how every time he's just like, all right, well, she passed out. Again, just gonna have to wait, I guess. You know, he doesn't really have any, like, particular reaction to it.
君は本当に頑張った。
Now, I do want to say I did anticipate what this last one, is before I even saw anything. And it just makes sense, right? If you look at everyone else, like as in the other people in the Fox, in this Fox clan or whatever you want to call it, right? But yeah, like, so like I say, the gameplay completely changes, and that I can actually show, when I load the save. But the fact that you have that arm now is a big deal. Yeah, so obviously the last part, like I say, looking at everyone else, you need the quote unquote mask. But yeah, it's a little bit more it's a little bit more complicated than just putting on a mask, of course. Now this part, the sound design is really good. So yeah, they just cut off half of her face. Yeah, just straight up. And we're going to replace that. But there, I think the sounds were very well done. I mean, it's very good. And again, she took it really well. I mean, they didn't even offer her the sort of, whatever you call that thing that you bite down on that time. Yeah, so I'm not surprised that they don't show you, you know, more of what happens in terms of what she looks like before they sew this mask on. I'm not surprised. But it would have been great though. But I'm not surprised they didn't, you know, show more of that. So we just cut back. Yes, she has the mask on now.
よく痛みをこらえてくれた。凛々しかったぞ、ひな子。
いや、痛い。
私の目を見なさい。ひな子、私の目を見なさい。
Seems like he had to use some of his, like, I guess magical abilities there.
痛いことや辛いことはありません。私は落ち着きます。
Well, I don't know about that, but
それでいい。さすがひな子だ。
ありがとうございます。
さあ、行こう。
はい、行きます。
one last warning, I guess. So this is where we can actually stop it. I guess that sort of symbolizes the completion of the, I don't know what you want to call it, possession or whatever. So this is where we can actually resume. Now, in terms of, like, yeah, I mean, you'll see what the changes to the gameplay. So yeah, I mean, look, I just imagined that. Oh yeah, no, the one last thing that I did want to mention was, if you look at, well, two things actually. So one would be this. If you look at the mask that these women have, I mean, that's a lot more of their face, right? So at least Hinako got the same mask as the dude, where it's only half of your face that they cut off, because I assumed that with these women they cut off everything, like the whole face came off to sew that on. And then yeah, you can see that the mask kind of, like, there's something more going on with this mask here, in terms of some kind of effect, which again I assume is some kind of the sort of possession aspect, which is then solidified at the end by that thing that appears on her forehead. And then lastly, before we stop this, yes, we get a last warning from her sister, which always comes with a little bit of a scary sound effect. But we do get that last warning. Obviously, none of the warnings are actually being paid attention to. And what's interesting is that I don't know whether or not, Fox Guy is able to, detect the presence of her sister or whatever it is, that sort of interference, I suppose you can call it. The smile here is also pretty indicative of the sort of type of what I assume is possession or something that's going on here. But essentially it's a kind of like, and you'll see that more when we actually restart the gameplay, it's kind of like a entry into this, I guess I'll call it a clan, because Japan and all that, but this Fox clan slash family or whatever this is, right? It seems to be that. Now, what's interesting is the arm, because I guess, you look at the other people and they don't have their arms replaced. So I wonder if that makes any kind of difference, or whether they also had their arms cut off, but, it just, appearances change at some point or whatever. But that is interesting. Now, gameplay-wise, the arm is actually extremely important because, as you will see, it basically turns you into the monster. Like when you're fighting, I mean, there's no question about monsters having an upper hand on you. Your combat strength goes up like crazy, and you can pretty much just absolutely dominate, whatever monsters they throw at you. So there's like a lot of tutorials that go on, showing you how to play with the arm. And yeah, it completely changes the sort of vibe of the game, because now it's like you're playing Onimusha or something. Like you're just you're there, you're slaughtering these guys. It's not a question of like a human anymore. So yeah, that is the catch up. It's not too much. Obviously a lot of the gameplay parts were missed, but you'll see actually what this mask also allows you to do. It basically allows you to see hidden doors, but they're not really hidden. It's just like you see a symbol on a door and it's like, okay, you can actually go through it if you use the sort of fox power that you gain, like, sight, I guess. Kind of like the lens of truth in Legend of Zelda. It's that kind of thing. So there is a gameplay aspect to the mask as well. But other than that, I mean, yeah, there wasn't too much. I'll have to go through all the lore entries to make sure that stuff, because there are a lot of lore entries that you get on the way, the notes and whatnot. But otherwise, like a fairly repetitive section where you're having to go back through the same map again and again, but just once you have different, powers through the various rituals, like going through these various doors. That's basically what it's about opening doors. So yeah, you'll actually see it, because there are a few items, I think, areas that I'll have to go back to, which I remember where, a little bit of exploration, whatever, and collect some items there. And so unfortunately I will have to do that, but it's fine, because at least we can just sort of go through the change in the gameplay. But other than that, yeah, there wasn't too much that was missed. 90% in terms of gameplay, most of it takes place in the Fox world. There's a little segment which we kind of saw where you're sort of running through the mountain, but it's just 2 chase sequences and you're back in the Fox world. So that's it for the catch up. Again, really unfortunate, because this is a fantastic part. I mean, this is the most interesting part of the game probably so far, is this like crazy ritual / transformation. Very brutal, very violent. They obviously don't show you a lot of it up front, but it's enough. And the sound design, especially with the face cutting scene, fantastic. So we will resume normally. after this.